Hello, welcome to the channel. Rusty Postie needs new rear shocks. I'm not just going to replace them with standard Honda ones. I'm going to upgrade for something a bit more heavy duty to withstand the extra weight of my belly and the camping gear that I like to carry. If that's something you're interested in, stick around. Let's get straight into it. Here are a few different shocks. Let's go through them, the pros and cons of each. I wasted money buying the wrong shocks originally. I don't want you to make the same mistake I did. Let's learn from my mistake. Let's talk about this red shock absorber first. I bought this from the well-known auction site. I'd seen online you can buy these shocks, they're only cheap, and all you need to do is press out a bush and away you go. But what I didn't realise, it's hard to tell from the pictures on the internet, the difference between the standard and this shock. It's much bigger, much more heavier. The spring, the coils are much thicker diameter. But I went ahead anyway, and because on the Postie the top and bottom mounts are different diameters, I pressed out this top bush, and then I was told all you need to do is use the bush from the standard and you can put it into this shock. But there's a reason why that's a bad idea, and I'll show you why. So if you take a look at this shock, the hole is straight. That's a straight hole straight through there. But if you look at the bush that comes out of the standard Honda, if you can see that, it's tapered, and that's because the inside of the standard shock, here's a standard shock with the bush removed, it's not straight, it's got a concave shape to it, and I believe that is to allow some movement and self-centering, so it's not rigidly fixed. So if you simply push this bush into there, you're removing all the features that Honda put into the shock absorber in the first place. The second reason, when I came to mount it, this was way too wide, so I had to grind and grind and grind. I spent ages on my bench grinder grinding it down to the right size because I was determined I was going to make it fit no matter what. Another problem, look at the difference in the diameter. This shock is huge compared to this one, to the standard one. It takes up much more room and it hits the exhaust. So you need to make some budge to the top mounting. But I went ahead and did that. I bolted the shock on, I jumped to my Postie, and what did I find? I turned my little Postie into a hardtail bobber. The shock was absolutely rock solid, way too stiff for this application. So for me, buying this shock proved to be a waste of money. I believe that this shock is probably used on a quad bike where there is simply, or on a mono application where there is only one shock. It's way too stiff, way too strong to use on a Postie bike. And so what I did, I bought this pair of shocks from JBS in Brisbane. I've had these shocks on my other bike, on my Adventure Postie bike, for over 3 years. This is the shock, still in as new condition, has worked perfectly, bolts directly to the bike, no filing, grinding, changing bushes, straight onto the Postie. It is slightly longer, maybe 10mm, but you can still use the side stand and centre stand. If you put a much longer one on, then you'll find that you won't be able to do that. So I can highly recommend these shocks from JBS. And that just leaves the elephant in the room, this shock. Should you buy a pair of these canister shocks? But that's a whole other video. It's an easy job to change the rear shocks. They're simply held in place with a nut and a washer at each end. Let's do that. So at the top, I've undone it with a spanner, undo the fastener, and because the exhaust fits on this right hand side, it's a little bit different. See if you can see, there's a nut and a washer that holds the exhaust in place, and then this fastener plus a washer holds the top shock mount. And for the bottom, simply a nut and a washer. So now it's a matter of simply removing the shock. So to replace the shock, and that's it. A washer and a nut. A washer and the fastener.